Well, and Ted Barr is saying, too, if an ice cream cone goes up to $20 a cone, then maybe Biden will notice the high prices.
Well, that's pretty good. In fact, we have what we will call our weekly Psaki bomb with Jen Psaki at the White House press room. And one of those involves that very thing. Let's take a look. She was getting a little pushback about the free time that Joe Biden has, because often on his calendar, he has maybe one event on the entire day that is publicly disclosed. So here's how the reporters were trying to press her a little on that.
Well, let's see. This morning, I think he had some policy meetings, also a PDB meeting. He later this afternoon, I think, is doing some remarks review. There are some days that we spend some time doing internal meetings and discussions with policy experts, with policy leaders, and that's what's happening today. He would say he doesn't have nearly enough time of free time on his schedule because it is packed no matter whether people see him or not.
Oh, we see him. We see him at the ice cream parlor. That's where he was the very day she's talking about how busy he was. All these meetings that he supposedly had, although she couldn't really tell us what they were, just they had policy meetings. You know, I used to have a bass boat, and I named that bass boat State Business. And so on a day that was really wonderful and I'd go fishing, if somebody called and my assistant was asked, "Where's the governor today?" she would say, "He's out on state business." And that meant I was out on the Arkansas River and I was catching bass. Joe ought to maybe just say that, he ought to call the ice cream place the White House Situation Room. Where's the president today? He's in the Situation Room, which means he's having his cone of ice cream. Good for him, huh?
Build Back Better is paid for. Entirely.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. That's Jen Psaki saying that the Build Back Better plan is entirely paid for. Not true. It is not entirely paid for. The Congressional Budget Office says it'll add $367 billion to the deficit. The deficit meaning the money that we don't have that somehow we're supposed to pay back. This next one is when she's asked about sanctions for China, and she wants to know what's going to happen to China if they misled us and they unleash this horrible virus on the world that has shut down our economy and cost millions of people their lives. Here's her answer.
On COVID origins, you guys are talking a lot about sanctions for Russia if they dare to invade Ukraine. What about sanctions for China at any point for misleading the world about the early days of the global pandemic?
We have used sanctions as a tool as it relates to our concerns about the behavior of a range of countries, including officials in China. But I have nothing to preview for you at this point.
Of course not. Nothing to preview because, look, Joe and Hunter have made a lot of money dealing with the Chinese. A lot of money. Millions and millions. I think they're compromised. And it's very, very sad because right now we need somebody who will stand up to China, push back hard, and demand that China pay the trillions of dollars that it has cost the American economy. By the way, we owe China a lot of money. I think what we ought to do is to tell them, you know what, all that problem that we've had with the pandemic that you guys caused, we're just going to erase that debt that we owe you. We'll call it even, and that's it. We don't owe you a dime anymore. They'll hate it. What are they going to do? And I think every country in the world ought to do the same thing. The one way we can fight China more effectively than militarily is economically, and that would be the way to do it.